Hey there, CS372, Trevor again. This tutorial is a brief introduction to another tool for creating UML diagrams called starUML. Now, starUML is a graphical UML tool unlike plant UML, and it has a lot of neat features that you might like. So, let's have a look at starUML. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and boot up whatever web browser you like to use and go to staruml.io. So I've already got it here for you. starUML3 is the preferred software for a lot of people who are using UML. So we're going to go ahead and download this. I'm going to download it for Linux because I'm on a Linux machine, but you can download it on your versions. I believe there is a version for both Mac and Windows. So now the first thing that you might notice here is that starUML is not open source. You see here there's a pop-up when you open it up that says unregistered version. Thank you for evaluating starUML. This is an unregistered version, although no time limit for evaluation. A license should be purchased for continued use. If you want to purchase a license, please click Buy Now button. Now, this will pop up every single time unless you actually buy the software. So I would encourage you to look into buying it if you're going to use this professionally in any capacity. But for now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to click Evaluate. So let's jump right into working with starUML by trying to draw a sequence diagram. Now, to draw a sequence diagram, all you have to do, well, to start out with, is to go over to the right-hand side. You'll see it says Model Explorer. Now, a model, if we're going to have a diagram within a model, you actually have to have a model object that contains the diagram. So you see where it says Untitled here. This is our untitled model. We're going to right-click on that model, and you'll see it says Add Diagram. Now, you've got class diagrams, package diagrams, object diagrams, etc., etc. We want to go down to Sequence Diagram. And now this creates a new little box, and this is going to contain our sequence diagram. Now let's go ahead and change the name of the sequence diagram because it's just called Interaction Sequence Diagram 1 now. So what we're going to do is click on this up here at the top. You'll see over here where it says Interaction 1, Sequence Diagram 1. Well, we can just go down here where it says under Properties, and you can rename it. So we're going to call this Rob, Peter, Pay, Paul. And now our interaction is called Rob, Peter, Pay, Paul. Now from there we need to add some actors or some objects. So to do that, we can right click on our model, and where it says Add, go down and find an actor. So we're going to use actors for this instance. So I'm going to create an actor. And now the actor, you can see right here, the actor is inside of our Rob, Peter, Pay, Paul interaction box. Well, actually, it's not quite there yet. The first thing we have to do here is we have to grab the actor and drag it over into our interaction box and drop it. Boop. And then you have Lifeline 1, Actor 1. Now let's go back and rename the actor. So I'm going to go back into my Model Explorer. I'm going to click on Actor 1. And where it says Name, I'm going to name this guy Rob, just like before. Now if you look here, you'll see that Rob already has a little lifeline that is extending down beneath his name there. Now Rob has gotten a little more sophisticated since last time, and we're going to, instead of directly robbing Peter, we are going to rob Peter through hacking into his bank account. So Rob has this new device called a Hacky Box, and the Hacky Box is going to interact with Peter's bank account. So let's go ahead and build ourselves a Hacky Box. So the first thing that we're going to do in order to build a Hacky Box, go down here to the toolbox, see where it says Interactions Basic. We're going to click on Lifeline. And from there, we are going to just click inside of our interaction box. Boop. And you'll see here there is now another object here with its own lifeline. Now I'm of course going to name this object Hacky Box. Now, of course, the hacky box has to interact with the bank, so we need to represent the bank as well. So let's go ahead and click on Lifeline once again, and go up here, and we're going to introduce another object with a lifeline. There you go. And this is going to be, we're going to call this Peter's bank account. There we go. Now the text doesn't quite fit in the box, so just click on that and it should. There we go. Good. Now I'm going to want to extend the lifeline of Rob, the hacky box, and Peter's bank account. So to do that, I'm going to click on Lifeline, click on Rob, and I'm going to grab this little slider daily at the bottom and pull this down. And there you go. Same thing with hacky box. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing with Peter's bank account. And there we go. That should do it. Now Rob is going to send a message to the hacky box to start hacking Peter's bank account. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now create a message. So go down to the toolbox, I'm going to click on Message, and I am going to draw an arrow by clicking from Rob's lifeline over to the hacky box lifeline. There we go. And I'm going to type in, I don't know, keyboard input hack Peter. It didn't like that. It's too long of a message. Hack Peter. Okay, so the message can't be so long. But anyhow, so hack Peter. Now you'll see right here that it automatically generates a process length, so how long this process takes. So after that little bit of time, I'm going to send another message, and that message is going to go from the hacky box all the way over to Peter's bank account. There we go. And this message is going to tell Peter's bank account to authorize a transaction. So I'm going to say, I don't know, pay Rob. Now this might take a little while, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the little process length box, and I'm going to grab it and I'm going to drag it down a little ways to represent that this is a long process, because you got to go and verify and authenticate and all that sort of thing. And so at the end here, we're going to send a message back, a reply message. So down in the toolbox, I'm going to grab reply message, and then from the end of this process, I am going to reply back to the hacky box, from the bank back to the hacky box, and we are going to say transaction complete. Now, of course, this isn't quite right, because you see here the actual process that it takes for the hacky box should extend all the way down here. So I'm going to grab hold of the process box here, and I'm going to pull that all the way down here to where it says transaction complete. This makes sense because the hacky box is going to have to wait for the transaction to be complete to give Rob some sort of a response. So let's drag it down a little bit further. There we go. And now I'm going to select a reply message, and we're going to send a reply message back to Rob. And I'm going to have it say transaction complete. All right. And so this is how, in the year 2020, that Rob is able to, well, rob Peter. Now he can go on to pay Paul if he really feels like it. Ah, you say, but what if Peter's bank account is wise to Rob's ways? Well, so if Peter's bank detects that Paul is trying to hack into Peter's bank account with his hacky box, we're going to need some sort of a scenario to describe that within our diagram. To accomplish this, we will use what is known as a combined fragment. Now, to include a combined fragment, we just have to go over to our toolbox, and where it says Interactions Advanced, click on the down arrow there, scroll down, and you will see Combined Fragment. So I'm going to click on Combined Fragment, and then I'm going to click anywhere within my interaction frame. And now you'll see here we have a combined fragment. Now let's have a look over at our Model Explorer. So you'll notice here that there's now a combined fragment 1 underneath the Model Explorer. And underneath the combined fragment 1, you'll see there is an operand 1. Now an operand is just a fancy name for one of the options that is contained within a combined fragment. Now before we do anything else, we need to set the combined fragment to the correct interaction operator. So right now it's a sequence. We don't want it to be a sequence, we want it to be one of two alternatives. So click on where it says sequence or seq and go up to where it says alt. And you'll notice that over in our interaction panel here, that alt is now present. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to add another operand. So I'm going to click on where it says operand 1. Now I'm going to copy this operand. And I'm literally going to right click and press copy. And then underneath where it says combine fragment, click on combine fragment. I'm going to right click on it and I am going to paste. And now you have an operand 1 and, well, an operand 1. So there's two operand 1s. Let's go ahead and name our operands something reasonable. So rather than operand 1, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to call this accepted. And as for my operand, well, my operand 1 again, I'm going to call that rejected. Now for each of my operands, I am going to add to it a guard. Now a guard is going to be either be something like true or false. So I'm going to, for the rejected, I'm going to add false. And for accepted, I am going to add true. Now to make it more clear, if you look over at the diagram, first of all, you'll see that there is a true and a false. Now to make it more clear what is true and what is false, let's go ahead and let's rename the combined fragment to something a little more sensible. So I'm going to name this, I don't know, let's see, hack succeeded, or success. There we go. And now let's go ahead and let's resize our fragment so that it can include the proper responses. I think I might have gone too far. Scroll down there. All right. There we go. Now we're going to, of course, need to resize this. So I'm going to click right here. And I'm going to pull this line all the way down here. There you go. So now you can see there's true and there is false. Now let's go ahead and grab this edge. I'm going to pull this out if I can to make sure that none of the text is obscured. There we go. Maybe a little too far. Whoops. Oh, that's good enough. Yeah, right about there. Cool, look at that. Now let's go ahead and have a response come from Peter's bank account. So I'm going to go in to Interactions Basic, and I'm going to grab a reply message. So grab a reply message, and let's start our reply message down here. I'm going to drag this from Peter's Bank all the way over to the Hacky Box, and I am going to call this rejected. And then after that, I'm going to then grab another reply message, and I'm going to drag that from the Hacky Box all the way over to Rob, so that it's going to notify Rob that the hack failed. And there we have it. We are missing our process lifetime boxy thingies, so we're going to go ahead and click on one of those. Drag that down here so that it goes all the way down to the rejected. There we go. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here for my Hacky Box. Drag that all the way down there. The airplane sounds are not obligatory. And there we have it. A diagram of our simple system of Rob trying to break into Peter's bank account, and the two possible responses. Now the last thing that I'm going to do is of course save this, so Control S to save, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call this one robbery.mdj. And then I'm going to go ahead and export this. I'm going to go File, and I'm going to export it as a diagram. So I'm going to export the diagram as a, what we're going to call it, a JPEG or something like that. And I'm going to save that as a JPEG. And there we go. So yeah. So that is starUML. Of course, there is a ridiculously large amount of things that you can do with starUML. And I barely grazed the surface at all, and honestly I probably messed a few things up here and there, but that is a graphical way of doing UML diagrams. Now I of course prefer the plant UML and the text-based ones. I find that the less features you have, the more you can get done without having to fiddle around with things. It actually took me a very long time, even though this was cut pretty well, I would say. It took me a while to figure out exactly how to use this, even though it seems kind of straightforward. So, but it's up to you what you use. Doesn't matter to me. Yeah, if you're wanting to use starUML does have a lot of documentation. So if you head on over to the starUML website, you'll see there is a ridiculous amount of documentation here, and honestly there's far more than we would ever have time for in this semester. So for now, that's all from me, and I'll see you in the next video.